Another one. Oh my God, it's even bigger. Guys, it's even bigger. Yeah! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh.
Biggest fish of my life ever.
Welcome back, folks, to another exciting episode of Wisconsin Fishing and Outdoors. We got Aladdin here with us. Today, as promised from the past, from, what was that, 2 videos ago when I did our spring bass baits. Finally, today I'm getting to film my rod and reel arsenal, the 2019 season. I said I was waiting on some packages to come from some sponsors. They are still on the way. There's one that's going to be here this Thursday. And one that's going to be here Friday. You guys will probably be seeing this on Wednesday. Not sure when those products will be featured, but they will be future videos. So, first one on the docket is this beautiful stuff. That's not. First one on the list. We're going to kind of go in order from the spring bass baits episode, for at least for a little bit here. We're going to start out with my jerkbait stick for the season. This is a 13 Fishing 5 black. This is a 6.7 medium fast rod with Shimano Canon 150 HG on the back. This is a 7.2 to 1 gear ratio reel. I've used this same jerkbait setup for a very long time, probably the past 3 years. I think I've used this same setup, and I have had no complaints whatsoever. The rod is super light, the reel is nice and compact, it's got a really nice narrow profile. That 7.2 to 1 gear ratio really is helpful when you're cranking up and you need to have a little bit faster presentation, but it's also slow enough where if you want a slow retrieve, you're not accidentally over reeling where you want to crank up the slack, but you don't want to move that bait, because that, if you have a suspending jerk bait like this one, you want it to hang there and sit there for a while. So right now on here, I believe I've got some 10-pound Seaguar Invisex for the line. That you can change that anywhere between 8 and 12 pound. So that's the first stick, 13 Fishing 5 black with that Shimano Canon 150 HG. It is worth mentioning that I will be using Shimano reels again this season. I've used Shimano for just about ever. Alright, next we're going to move on to that spinnerbait setup that I used last year. I believe I had a Canon on here. I now have switched that to a Kayas I bought last year, but this is a 13 Fishing Almond Black. This is a 7.1 medium heavy with that Shimano Kayas 6.31 gear ratio, perfect for slow rolling those spinnerbaits. Especially in the spring, you want to move them just slow enough where you have those blades turning, but not too slow where they're not, or too fast where you're just burning it in. That spinnerbait on there, it's that KVD Sexy Shad killer color that I used last year. On here right now, this is 20-pound Seaguar Invisex. The reason I went up to 20 is because last year, fishing at Lake X and a couple other lakes where there's some bigger bass, I ended up breaking off actually on a couple, either big bass or pike, with 15-pound fluoro on the spinnerbait. So I went up to 20 this year. Gonna see how it works. It might be a little bit too heavy. Again, this is the same rod I used for spinnerbaits last year, just a little bit slower gear ratio reel, because I found that with a 7.2 to 1 or something higher, I was struggling with slow rolling them a little bit. So 13 Fishing Almond Black, 7.1 medium heavy with that Shimano Kayas. Next is going to be my flipping setup for the entire year. I believe this might be even the same flipping setup I had last year. I believe it is. This is a 13 Fishing Envy Black 7'3" heavy action rod with a Shimano Crotto 70 XG. I've stuck with the notion ever since I bought this reel that this is the best flipping reel on the market right now. I've got some 20-pound, I believe this is Sunline Sniper FC fluorocarbon, I believe. Biggest thing I think I like about this rod for flipping is that it's light. These guides are like wound guides instead of like it's one wire bent over itself instead of a little bit thicker guide. The handle is super ergonomic, and it has just that little bit of EVA at the back there. and even has some slits cut out of that to save weight. Everything about this rod and this reel is meant for saving weight, and when you're flipping all day, when you're just and then crank up, flip again, crank up, flip again, you want something that's going to be pretty light, and when you're able to jack the hook, still have a nice stiff backbone, so you can really lay into some of those bigger bass. Now this reel is 8.2 to 1 gear ratio. Again, that's just so as soon as you flip in, you want to crank that bait back up, get back into there, and onto the next tree, piling, weed patch, milfoil, whatever you're flipping. I just have a jig on here right now because in the early spring, there's not too much actual flipping cover that I'm doing. So I have a little jig on there just to kind of cover some water a little bit more than just a Texas rig or something like that would. 13 fishing, NV Black 7.3, heavy action with that Shimano Corrado 70XG. Alright, moving on to the big boy of the setup here. This is actually, this is going to be my swim bait setup for early in the spring, and then maybe into the summer if we keep doing it, but for the most part this will be for spring. This is actually a Peregrine musky rod. The reason that I chose this one specifically is because it's a 7-foot, and for the space and just the ideal rod for the specific situation that we're swim bait fishing in, this is perfect because it's still a nice heavy rod. It can cast those bigger swim baits, musky baits, what have you. However, it's shorter, so you're in a smaller bass boat. It's a little bit closer to the water. If I feel like if I had something a little bit longer than this, when you're twitching those swim baits and really, kind of getting a little bit more action out of them, I feel like I'd be splashing the water all the time. And it's also nice to have a little bit shorter rod with bigger baits. On here for a reel, I kept it bass size for the reel. I didn't go up to a musky size reel. This is a Shimano Chronarch CI4 Plus. These were discontinued a little while ago. A 6.2 to 1 gear ratio. That's actually perfect for swim baits because you don't move these things fast. This is just a large target wake bait, just to kind of give you some size comparison. This is 20-pound Seaguar and Bizex on here, brand new line. The whole swim bait deal is going to be a little bit new for me this year, so just kind of going with a basic setup. This rod is actually super cheap as far as musky rods go, and I did use it for musky fishing. I never actually fought a musky on it, but when I was casting baits with it and all that stuff, it actually worked pretty well. So, for the price, it's not going to do as well as a Mojo musky or a Premier or something like that, but it got the job done. So, alright, just going to feature one spinning combo because I really only ever have 2 spinning combos set up in the boat or on the bank, and I'm still kind of deciding on what spinning rod I want to use for the second combo, but this is going to be kind of my all-around spinning stick if I just want to bring it to a pond or on the lake or whatever. This is a 13 to 5 black spinning rod, 7.1 medium light, fast action with a Shimano Sahara 2500 FE. I believe this was one of my combos from last year. I had no reason to change it. I absolutely loved this rod and reel last year. I caught so many big bass on this. I actually caught my biggest bass of the year last year on this setup. This right here just has a Ned rig on there right now. It's a really good early spring bait, just catches fish in all conditions. And then this is 15-pound Daiwa J braid. I like J braid. It's a little bit smoother because it's an 8 fiber braid, or an 8-strand braid rather than a 4-strand like Power Pro is or all that good stuff. It's a little bit smoother, not quite as abrasive resistant. However, it does come off the spool a lot nicer. You can cast a lot farther with it. It just feels a little bit nicer in the hand to handle. And there's just a 8-pound fluorocarbon leaner on there right now. As soon as the water gets a little bit warmer, I'll probably go up to a 10-pound. For now, with those fish a little bit more finicky because of how cold the water is. I believe this rod retails for like 40 bucks or something. That's really good for a good spinning rod. And again, I've had no reason to change from this. This thing caught me salmon this year. It caught me big smallmouth, big largemouth. Just about everything. Even I think I caught a trout on this one as well. So the 13 fishing, the 5 black, 7.1 medium light with that Shimano Sahara 2500 FE. Before we get on to the last combo, I do want to give a huge shout out to my sponsors for the 2019 fishing season. Line Fishing, or Fishing Line, however you want to call it, is a brand new fishing line company actually, and I'm super stoked to start working with them in developing their open water lines as well. They have Right now they have ice line and ice braid. I do plan on using some of that ice braid and ice line as like leader material and all that good stuff for like drop shot fishing and stuff like that. They are planning on coming out with some open water braid and fluorocarbon as well, so keep an eye out for that. I'll leave them linked in the description below, their Instagram, their website, all that good stuff. Going from my newest sponsor to my oldest sponsor that I currently have, TUNGSTEN's been here from the beginning of this channel. I can't thank them enough for sticking with me. They've sent me so much free stuff and just helped out with tungsten whenever I've needed it. I also have an order coming from them as well. Another one that's been here from just about the beginning, from about 2 years ago, Get Bit Baits. If you don't know Get Bit Baits and you're like from the Midwest area, you've been under a rock. Like, I have no idea how you don't know who Daniel Elsner is and who Get Bit Baits are and what they're about. They make the best soft plastic tubes for the best price on the market by miles. Like, it's not even close in terms of tubes. However, they also just are coming out with more versatile baits. They have stick baits, drop shot baits, craws, floating craws. I've heard some rumors about top waters. They have some hypertail worms, like all these different things. The hyper craw is going to be a game changer. That came out earlier this year.
She have talked to me, and me have talked to she. But the day is coming that we must meet personally. She have talked to me, and me have talked to she. But the day is coming that we must meet personally. She have talked to me, and me have talked to she. But the day is coming that we must meet personally. She have talked to me.
God, if that's a fish, that's a oh my God, it's a giant. Oh my God, it's a giant. Well, that's a 5-pounder. That's a freaking 5-pounder. Ah! Dude, he freaking swallowed that jig. Oh, woo! He ate that freaking jig.
And finally, one that I just picked up this year as well, Anchored Anglers. Shout out to them as well. It's a family-run company. They make some awesome apparel, and it's apparel for anglers. Like, you know, you looked at some other semi-popular clothing brands. You know, they kind of try and bridge the gap between hunters and anglers, and you probably know what companies I'm talking about. But it's not specifically for anglers. This brand of apparel is specifically for anglers, specifically trout anglers. However, obviously the clothing works for everything, but they make some amazing stuff, and the message behind it is incredible. Follow them on Instagram, send them a DM, ask them what they're about, and definitely go order some sweaters or t-shirts or whatever. We've got one more stick here, and if you've been paying attention, you probably know what it is. Since it hasn't been shown already, this is going to be my top water setup for the year. This is a St. Croix Bass X7-1 medium heavy with a Shimano Caius 6.3-to-1 gear ratio. I had to pick up a couple more of these Caiuses after I shipped the 2 out that I had in my giveaway a while ago. But I had to pick up a couple more this fall because they're just incredible reels for the price. Got some 65-pound, I believe this is like Suffolk braid or something. You can get, if it's 65-pound braid, it's 65-pound braid. There's nothing's really gonna snap through that very easily. It's got a little frog on there right now. I feel like I say this in all of my rod and reel arsenal videos, but the reason that I go with a shorter rod for topwater, just for the fact that it causes less fatigue. When you're out topwater fishing, especially if you're fishing a backwoods Wisconsin lake, it's all lily pads, it's all milfoil, probably going to be fishing topwater all day if you commit to it. So have a nice lighter rod in your hand that still has a really nice stiff backbone like this one does. Just as long as you can get that fish out of the cover that you're in with the braid that you have or whatever, it doesn't really matter what length rod you have. And that's about it, I think, for this video. just a little short and sweet one for you guys to hold you over until I either get back out on the ice, or because I'm sick of the ice, I wait until some lake ice is out somewhere, because I really am sick of drilling holes. Yeah, again, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you on the next episode. Wisconsin Fishing and Outdoors.